Check 1, 2. Check. I hear that. Check 1, 2, check. Let's make sure that the mic is all good. Just listening back on my phone, making sure that we can hear me. We can. All right. Welcome back. I'm Noctophonics, and today I'll be diving into a little bit more of JavaScript. Last time we went through a fun game, a little whack-a-mole game called Mole Unearther. It'll be available on Twitch for about a week, and it'll also be available on YouTube. But today we are going to go into JavaScript arrays and learn all about those. So let's get started. JavaScript arrays. Expand your repertoire of JavaScript concepts by learning arrays. In this section, you'll learn about arrays. Arrays help us order and store data in one place. When we want to access this stored information, we can go straight into our array. Using arrays as a means to store and organize information is vital in any program and any game. As you continue learning more about JavaScript and programming as a whole, you'll probably find that you need to know arrays if you want to get a raise. All right, let's jump into this. See what arrays are. Organizing and storing data is a foundational concept of programming. One way we organize data in real life is by making lists. Let's make one here. New Year's resolutions. Keep a journal, take a falconry class, and learn to juggle. Now let's write this in JavaScript as an array. Let New Year's resolutions equal, I see, so they're using the braces here. Or is that called the brackets? Keep a journal, take a falconry class, learn to juggle. Arrays are JavaScript's way of making a list. Arrays can store any data types, including strings, numbers, and booleans. Like lists, arrays are ordered, meaning each item has a numbered position. Here's an array of the concepts we'll cover. Let concepts equals creating arrays, array structures, array manipulation. By the end of this lesson, you'll have another tool under your belt that helps you manage chunks of data. Run the code to see what is logged to the console. Nice. So if you run the array, it will log everything within the array to the console. You can see that also each item is separated by a comma. Create an array. One way we create an array is to use an array literal. An array literal creates an array by wrapping items in square brackets. Remember from the previous exercise, arrays can store any data type. Here we have an array that holds all the same data types, or an array that holds different data types. So there are square brackets around each element in the array. It can be a string, it can be a number, or it can be a boolean, any data type it seems. Let's take a closer look at the syntax in the array example. The array is represented by the square brackets and the content inside. Each content item inside an array is called an element. There are different elements inside the array. Each element inside the array is a different data type. We can also save an array to a variable. You may have noticed we did this in the previous exercise. Let New Year's resolutions equal keep journal, take a falconry class, learn to juggle. Let's practice by making an array of our own. Declare a variable using const named hobbies and set it equal to an array of 3 strings inside of it. Okay, so const hobbies, and so we're declaring a variable, but it's going to be equal to an array. So hobbies, 3 hobbies. Let's see, of course, coding. But remember, we have to make all of these strings, and not, I'm going to use the single quotation marks instead of double. Coding, Control Shift, and then left arrow key to select that word behind the cursor, and then just press that quotation mark. Rock climbing. And then let's see, what's the last one? Maybe like cake making. Where's baking? Baking. Okay, let's see if we did that correctly. Yep, use console log to print the hobbies to the console. Okay, console.log, and then this is just as if you were logging a variable. So just write in hobbies there, and it should log the whole array. There we go. Cool. Accessing elements. Each element in an array has a numbered position known as its index. We can access individual items using their index, which is similar to referencing an item in a list on the item's position. Arrays in JavaScript are zero indexed, meaning the positions start counting from 0 rather than 1. Therefore, the first item in an array will be at position 0. Let's see how we could access an element in an array. So let cities equal New York, Beijing, and Nairobi. When you access cities with an index of 0 inside of brackets, then it will access New York inside of the array. In the code snippet above, the cities is an array that has 3 elements. We're using the bracket notation with the index after the name of an array to access the element. City 0 will access the element at index 0 in the array of cities. You can think of city 0 as accessing the space in memory that holds the string of New York. You can also access individual characters in a string using bracket notation and the index. For instance, you can write constant hello world, console log hello, and then 6. The console will display W since it is the character that is at index 6. Interesting. So you can kind of do it. You can do it without an array present even. If you're just writing a string within a variable, you can then access a character within that variable. If it's a string, I suppose. I don't know what would happen if you do it with numbers. We could check that out. Individual elements in arrays can also be stored to variables. Create a variable named list item and set it equal to the first item in the famous sayings array using square bracket notation. Then use the console log to print the list item variable to the console. Okay, easy enough. Easy enough. We'll go ahead and do that. Famous sayings, so we want to create a variable named list item. Okay, so constant list item, the first item in famous sayings, and then this is going to be square brackets and 0. Just like that, I believe. And then on the next line, we'll do a console log of it. Console log of the variable we just created, which is list item. Fortune favors the brave. Yes, indeed. Cool. I think they do it that way. So, because if we just try to console log, I'm curious if we just try to console log an item in the array right away, what happens? So sayings. Let's put the brackets in and 0 and see what that gives us. It gives us the same. And CodeCademy is saying there's an error because it's moving on to the next step, but it's giving us the same. So it's interesting they had us put down a variable first and then log the list item. I suppose that's simpler than having to put in the bracket notation with a 0, where we can just store it somewhere. And if we want to change that, it might be easier to just have it referenced here versus down further in the code, so that we can change whatever it's saying. So this would be then 1, change that to 1, and then so the first instance would be the index 0 phrase, and the second would be index 1. Okay. Now console log the third element in famous sayings array by using bracket notation to access the element. Do not save the element to a new variable before you log it. So basically they're telling us to do what I was just experimenting with. So let's put this back to 0, right? Console log, oh yeah, it's not 3 because we're 0 indexed, so it's 2. Where there is love, there is life. Where there is love, there is life. Awesome, you can access each element in an array using the index, but what happens if you try to access an index that is beyond the last element? Well, we just did that accidentally. Let's try that again. So we're going to put in another console log, but this time add in something that is beyond the scope, or I guess beyond the array, and then it will come up as undefined. All right, cool. Update elements. In the previous exercise, you learned how to access elements inside an array or a string by using an index. Once you have access to an element in an array, you can update its value. Interesting. So you can actually just call the index of the array and then have it set to a new value. That's cool. In the example above, the seasons array contained the names of the 4 seasons. However, we decided that we preferred to say autumn instead of fall. So the line season 3 accessing fall equal to autumn tells our program to change the item at index 3 of the seasons to be autumn instead of what was already there. So change the second element of the array in grocery list to avocados. Okay, so second element of this. So we just reference grocery list. Let's see, so second element is going to be at index 1. Have that set to avocados instead. Avocados. Cool. Cool, and if we don't want to console log that, we can. In fact, we can go ahead and do that. Say console log, and then just put grocery list. And then we'll copy this down and put it below avocados as well. So that after it's changed, we'll see the effect that the change had. There we go. So at first you need bread, tomatoes, and milk, and then after the change of the index reference, you need avocados instead of tomatoes, which I would prefer. Arrays with let and const. You may recall that you can declare variables with both let and const keywords. Variables declared with let can be reassigned. Variables declared with the const keyword cannot be reassigned. However, elements in an array declared with const remain mutable, meaning that we can change the contents of a const array but cannot reassign a new array or different value. The instructions below will illustrate how this concept more clearly. Pay close attention to the similarities and differences between the condiments array and the utensils array as you complete the steps. Okay? Below the 2 existing arrays, reassign the element in index 0 of condiments to mayo. Log the updated array condiments to the console. Okay, so just we're changing ketchup to mayo. Okay, so this is just going to show us that we can change both array elements within a const declaration and a let, right, with those keywords. Okay, so condiments 0 will then equal mayo. Pick up some mayo. And then we can also then console log this, console log condiments, and see what that puts out. There we go. Ketchup is changed to mayo. Below your code from step 1, reassign condiments to be a new array that contains a single string of mayo. Log the result to the console. Okay. So we're going to change condiments. And this is the whole variable. So simply change it to one string just called mayo, and then log this to the console. Once again, condiments. Okay, so we can change not only the index values in that array, but we can change the entire array. We can reassign it to be a single array. We could even reassign it to be a number because it's just simply a variable that we've assigned with the let keyword. We could change this to be 15 if we wanted, and it would log 15. Below your code from step 2, reassign the last item from utensils array to spoon. Log the updated array to the console. Okay, so we're going to do utensils. This is going to be at spoon or spork, so that would be 3 because it's the fourth item of an index 0 array, so that will actually be index of 3, and this will be changed to spoon. And then they want to log this to the console. Console.log equals spoon. Or not spoon. Console.log equals utensils. We are logging the variable utensils. And this is not how you set that up. I was setting up a new variable. There we go. Okay. All right, now they didn't go through the step where you try to change the whole array. I wonder if they'll do that in the next step, but if you try to change the constant array, or an array that's declared with a constant keyword, or a variable for that matter, you can't actually reassign it, but you can reassign what is within an array of that by accessing the index. So in a way, like, this scope is, for now, it's global because it's outside of any function or anything. It has global scope, and those things, those elements within the array are still changeable. They're still mutable. The dot length property. One of an array's built-in properties is length, and it returns the number of items in the array. We access the dot length property just like we do with strings. Check the example below. New Year's resolutions, console log New Year's resolutions. In the example above, we log New Year's resolutions dot length to the console using the following steps. We use dot notation, changing a period or chaining a period with the property name to the array to access the length property of the New Year's resolutions array. Then we log the length of New Year's resolutions to the console. Since New Year's resolution has 2 elements, 2 would be logged to the console. When we want to know how many elements are in an array, we can access the .length property. Okay, cool. And this is also possible with variables themselves. I think if you're not using an array, though, it'll give you like the full, it'll say how many characters are within the string, or like how many numbers you're using. But if you do an array, then it will just say how many elements are within that. So let's find the length of the objectives array and log it to the console. Okay, so console log, I think we do it all in one step. Yeah, so we console log objectives and .length, right? But, oh, I spelled objectives wrong. Let's change that. And it is indeed 3. Learn a new language, read 52 books, run a marathon. All right, the push method. Let's learn about some built-in JavaScript methods that make working with arrays easier. These methods are specifically called on arrays to make more common tasks, like adding and removing elements, more straightforward. The one method, .push, allows us to add items at the end of an array. Here's an example of how this is used. So we can see our item tracker has 3 elements within it. Item tracker push item 3 and item 4. Console log item tracker output is the original array in addition to what you pushed to the array. So how does .push work? We access the push method by using dot notation, connecting push to item tracker with a period. Then we call it like a function. That's because push is a function and one that JavaScript allows us to use right on an array. .push can take a single argument or multiple arguments separated by commas. In this case, we're adding 2 elements, item 3 and item 4, to item tracker. Notice that push changes or mutates the item tracker. You might also see .push referred to as a destructive array method, since it changes the initial array. If you're looking for a method that will mutate an array by adding elements to it, then .push is the method for you. Add 2 elements to the chores array by using push. So this is more than accessing a property like we did with the .length. .length is accessing sort of a built-in property of a variable, but this is actually using a method, which basically means a built-in function for the item tracker. So let us try this. Add 2 elements to the chores array by using .push. Okay, so what chores do we have to do? We have to wash dishes, do laundry, and take out trash. Let's see. So we're just doing this. I think we can just say chores.push, right? Chores.push. Put this in here. And add comb the cat, And what should be our second one? Let's see. Clean litter box, right? Those are all the chores that we have to do. Chores.push, I think that is fine. There we go. And then console log to print and see that what we pushed is actually there. So console log the chores. There we go. We've added our two chores to the list. Sweet. The pop method. Another array method, .pop, removes the last item of an array. New item tracker, item 0, item 1, item 2, constant removed new item tracker .pop. Console log the new item tracker. Output is only the first two elements, not the third, because we removed that. And then if we console log the removed variable that was created, the item, let's see, so console log removed. Interesting. They're almost using this variable like a function. So when you call this, when you log this, it will come up with the new item tracker, the current new item tracker array, and then delete the last element. So it did it twice, once at the declaration and once when we console logged the variable that was created with that method built in. That's interesting. They're adding a different step. In the example above, calling .pop on the new item tracker array removed item 2 from the end. Okay. .pop does not take any arguments. It simply removes the last element. Pop returns the value of the last element. In the example, we store the returned value in a variable removed to be used for later. The pop method is a method that mutates the initial array. They didn't actually tell us about, let's see, when you need to mutate an array by removing the last element, use pop. Yeah, they didn't explain what was actually happening here, but it's interesting because, let's see, item 2. Oh, I see, okay. Never mind what I was saying before. I see it now. So the removed variable is actually seeing, it is the last element. So it is whatever element was removed. It will appear in the removed variable. And then the array just has the first two. Gotcha. Use the pop method to remove the last element from chores. Okay, so just chores.pop. Chores.pop. In the line after, log the chores to the console and make sure that it works. Chores. Wash dishes, do laundry, take out trash, and make dinner. Mop floor. We are not mopping the floor today. More array methods. There are many more array methods than just push and pop. You can read about these array methods in the docs entry for JavaScript arrays. Pop and push mutate the array on which they are called. However, there are times that we don't want to mutate the original array, and we can use non-mutating array methods. Be sure to check the docs to understand the behavior of the method you're using. Some array methods that are available to JavaScript developers include join, slice, splice, shift, unshift, and concat, amongst many others. Using these built-in array methods makes it easier to do some more common tasks when working with arrays. Below, we will explore some methods that we have not learned yet. We will use these methods to edit a grocery list, and as you complete the steps, you can consult the CodeCademy docs to learn what each method does, okay? Use the .shift method to remove the first item from the array of grocery list. Okay, so this is basically the inverse of pop, or maybe not the inverse, but it's taking the first element instead of the last element out of the array. So log the new grocery list to the console, and you can read about it in the docs. This documentation, by the way, is the, oh, they actually put it within JavaScript terms. So CodeCademy has their own documentation on this, but JavaScript, let's see if this one goes to, no, that also goes to CodeCademy. There's a site like from Mozilla, the Mozilla documentation, MDM, I think. or MDN, Mozilla something network, that shows you the JavaScript arrays. Let me see what that is. In docs, is this one? This one probably just takes us to, yeah, it takes us to the same. But anyway, CodeCademy has a kind of a condensed version of that. I don't think it has all the information, but it has a little more beginner-friendly information. Use .shift method to remove the first item from the array grocery list. Log the new grocery list to the console. All right, let's do that. So grocery list .shift, and then we want console log grocery list. And I forgot the Y here. Let's put that Y in. Bananas, coffee beans, brown rice, pasta, coconut oil, and plantains. We do not have orange juice on our grocery list. Perfect. Now, if we wanted to get rid of plantains instead, we would change this to pop, right? Like we learned in the last exercise, we changed that to pop, and now it gets rid of plantains instead of orange juice. CodeCademy is giving us an error because it moved on to the next step. Under the code added in step 1, use the unshift method to add popcorn to the beginning of your grocery list. Oh, cool. Okay. So unshift, grocery list dot unshift. Unshift, there we go. And then popcorn. Okay. They wish to delete the console log statement from the previous step. Oh, I see, because they're going to, we can just move that down, right? Just copy this, move that down. If we keep this going, it'll print several arrays eventually, because we'll do this several times. So we'll just get rid of the first one, and then that way only the bottom will populate in the console. Popcorn is indeed the first element, so unshift adds an element to the beginning of an array. I wonder if there's one where you can add it to the end of an array. Maybe it's like unpush, right? Or no, it was push. Push was to add at the end. Unshift is to add at the beginning. Shift is to get rid of the first element in an array. And then pop is to get rid of the last element in an array. You're in a hurry, so you decide to ask a friend to help you with your grocery shopping. You want him to pick up the bananas, coffee beans, and brown rice. Okay, under the code you added for step 2, use the slice to provide your friend with a list of these 3 things. Log this part of the list to the console. Unlike the 2 previous checkpoints, you should do both of these steps in one line. Okay. You want to pick up the bananas, coffee beans, and brown rice. Under the code you added in step 2, use slice to provide your friend with a list of these 3 things. Okay, so we want to have it all in the same line, they say. So let's do console log, grocery list. I'm betting because this will be destructive if we do it outside of the console log, but I don't know. Dot slice. Is this going to be like the index number? So like 2? Because these are all, the problem is that we did add 1, so that the indexes should be the same. So this actually needs to be 1. What I'm thinking is that the slice, you put in the index, the indices for one at the beginning of where you want the slice to be and one at the end where you want the slice to be. So this would be from bananas to brown rice, so 1 to 3. But I don't know what the syntax is for that. So let's check this out in the docs. Let's go read up on this. So the syntax is with a comma in the center, and you want the start and the end. So yeah, that intuition was correct. Have a start and the end index. One argument is specified. The returned array contains all the elements from the start position to the end of an array. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so you can start it to be like, I want the whole array except for the first, 5 elements. Then you can put the index as 5 and and it will do that for you. It will only output what's after that. Okay, so and we don't need to have brackets around those. We can just have 1 and 3, I believe. I believe that will be. Nope, grocery again. I forgot the Y in grocery. There we go. Bananas and coffee beans. So that didn't quite work because the end of it. Remember, you need one element further than the last element you want. Okay, so yeah, it's sort of putting the box around those. Yeah, so we actually need to index for the end marker. We need to index one further than where we are. Yeah, okay, so bananas, coffee beans, and brown rice. Cool. After calling slice on grocery list, log the grocery list to the console one more time. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just add in our grocery list console log. Notice that the grocery list array still contains the same items in it as step 2. This means that slice is non-mutating. You can confirm this in the link in the previous step. Cool, non-mutating. So that means that it basically doesn't change the array to be just what we had within the slice. We're just picking out a portion of it, but not destroying what we had. Let's find the index of a particular element in grocery list by using index of. Call the index of on grocery list to find the index of the element pasta, and save the return value to a constant variable named pasta index, and log pasta index to the console. You may remove the other console log statements to declutter the terminal. So we'll just go ahead and comment those out. Double forward slash, and then this as well will be double forward slash to comment out a single line of code. So those won't run. The slice will. You go ahead and comment that out as well. All right, so for this one, call the index of on grocery list. Grocery list. And dot index of is capitalized here. Index of, define the element pasta. So with this, we're kind of doing it in reverse. We're not calling an index number and seeing what's at that index. We're saying, okay, I have this string. It's an actual word, and I need to know where it is in the list. Say you had 100 different items, and you're trying to scroll through all the items to find that one thing. This is extremely helpful in that case, where you can just put in a literal word, and then it will show you where it is in the list. Find the element of pasta and save the return value to a constant variable named pasta index. Okay, so they also want this to be a variable, so constant pasta index equals grocery list index of pasta. And then, yeah, and then just console log that variable we created. Pasta index. I suppose we could do this on one line without the variable, and we would just log grocery list instead. So the pasta index was indeed 4, so we can then look through our list and then see that it is at place 4, which is actually going to be the 5th item in the array. Index 0. Arrays and functions. Throughout the lesson, we went over arrays being mutable or changeable. Well, what happens when we try to change an array inside of a function? Does the array keep the change after the function call, or is it scoped to inside the function? Very good question. Very good question. Take a look at the following example where we call push on an array inside a function. Recall, the push method mutates or changes an array. So what do they have here? Got an array of flowers. They are declaring a function with a parameter of ARR, which is like argument, right? So, or array, I guess. ARR.push lily. Add flower of flowers, console log flowers. Output, it does indeed. It is. So this is the opposite, though. This is seeing something that is globally scoped and changing it with a function, right? So those methods still work if you put them inside a function and then run them later with the argument of an array. So whatever flowers is going to be pushed through this parameter, which is going to make it appear as an array. If it's not an array, this will break, right? If you put in like 0.push equals Lily, I don't think that would work, but with an array, it works just the same as we saw earlier. Let's go over what happened in the example. So the flowers array has 3 elements. The function addFlower has a parameter of r that uses .push to add a Lily element to the r. We can call addFlower with an argument of flowers, which will execute the code inside of the function that they created. We check the value of flowers, and now it includes the Lily. The array was indeed mutated. So when you pass an array into a function, if the array is mutated inside of the function, that change will be maintained outside of the function as well. You might also see this concept explained as a pass by reference, since what we're actually passing to the function is a reference to where the variable memory is stored, and it also changing the memory. Okay, so in a way, this whatever happens inside the function is also destructive. So you could change the array however you wanted, and then when you console log it outside of that, after you run the function, once you console log it, then it will be changed for good. In main.js, there is an array of concept. There's also a function change array that will assign the element to index 3 of an array to mutated. The function change arr was called with an argument of concept. Underneath the function call, log concept to the console and check to see if this reassignment mutated the array. All right, let's see. So they're basically changing the index. They're reassigning mutated to mutated. All right, so let's try that. Console log of concept. Arrays can be mutated. Cool. Let's double check what happens if we mutate an array using a built-in method inside of a function. Under the console log statement, define another function named removeElement that takes a parameter of new r. Inside the function body, call pop on new r. All right, this will be cool. So we can do it in a couple ways, right? We can declare the function like this, or we can do arrow notation. Let's just try the function expression rather than a function declaration. So what that means is doing an arrow notation and declaring it as a variable. I don't know if they might want it to be, so we can make this a const remove element. We'll see if it accepts this, but remove element equals, let's see, just one parameter of new r. Remember our equal sign, greater than symbol, our fat arrow, and the curly braces. Inside of this, we're going to run a function on that parameter, new r dot pop, and those parentheses. So whatever's passed through here, it will populate. There we go. Call remove element with an argument of concept. All right. So remove element with an argument of concept. Good. After calling remove element concept, check the value of concept by logging into the console. Arrays can be, indeed. That's interesting. That is very interesting. Yeah, so you can call the function. It'll run the pop, which gets rid of the last indexed value. And then you can console log it and see that we only have the first 3. Nested arrays. Earlier we mentioned that arrays can store other arrays. When an array contains another array, it is known as a nested array. Examine the example below. Constant.nestedArray equals 1, 2, 3. To access the nested arrays, we can use bracket notation with the index value, just like we did to access any other element. So when they try to access the value of 1, the output is both 2 and 3 because the element at index 1 is actually an array, so it's going to output 2 values instead of 1. Notice that nested array will grab the element in index 1, which is the array 2, 3. Then if we wanted to access the elements within the nested array, we can chain or add on more bracket notation with index values. So for this example, if you wanted to access just one of these elements within that array, which already has an index, we can then say nested array of 1, which in the main array, 2 and 3 are at index 1, and then we say within that array, show us what index 0 is, which is 2. In the second console log statement, we have 2 bracket notations, chained to nested array. We know that nested array 1 is the array 2, 3. Then to grab the first element from that array, we use nested array 1, 0, and we get the value of 2. Let's make a nested array. Create a variable named number clusters. Assign it as its value an array with 3 array elements. The first array element should hold the elements 1 and 2. Second is 3 and 4. Third is 5 and 6. Okay, so let's do this. So or I guess we can use const because arrays are mutable even within constant keyword variables. Number clusters equals, so use our brackets and then brackets once more to put in, well, not 3 times, just twice, 1 and then comma 2. I think there needs to be a space. There might not need to be a space, but it's a little cleaner that way. Comma outside of the internal brackets. Add some more brackets. Do 3 and 4. And then comma once again. And then the third element will be another array of 5 and 6. Okay, and I think we have what we need there for the first step. Second step is awesome. You made a nested array. Now declare a variable named target using the constant keyword and assign to access element 6 inside of number clusters. All right, so constant target. We want number clusters, number clusters, and then just as element 6 inside. Okay, so we need to have this be 2, right? Because 2 will access the third element in the main array, and then within that array, we can access 1, which will be the number 6. I didn't say to console log it, so we can just complete the task there, but I will indeed console log that to see or to verify that target is doing what we want it to. So target, and it comes out with 6. You could also change this second index to be 0, and that will come up with 5, and etc. Review arrays. Nice work. In this lesson, we learned these concepts regarding arrays. Arrays are lists that store data in JavaScript. Arrays are created with brackets. Each item inside of an array is at a numbered position or index starting at 0. We can access one item in an array using its index with syntax like myArray0. We can also change an item in an array using its index with syntax like myArray reassignment of a new string. Arrays have a length property, which lets you see how many items are in an array. Arrays have their own methods, including push and pop, which add and remove items from an array respectively. Arrays have many methods that perform different tasks, such as slice and shift. You can find the documentation developer, that's what it's called, Mozilla Developer Network. That's the main documentation. We'll go ahead and go here so you guys can see. This is the main documentation for JavaScript. It's everything you need here. If we go back to JavaScript, it'll show, yeah, everything you need to know about JavaScript is there, but CodeCademy also has their own condensed version of what you need to know for this course. All right, so variables that contain arrays can be declared with let or const. Even when a variable is, even when declared with const, arrays are still mutable. However, a variable declared with const cannot be reassigned, just like they couldn't before. So you can change the items within in an array, but you cannot change the entire array or make it like a number or just a string on its own. The data type will still stay the same, but you can change what's within it. Arrays mutated inside of a function will keep that change even outside of the function. And arrays can be nested inside of other arrays. To access the elements in nested arrays, we can chain indices using bracket notations. Learn how to work with and manipulate arrays will help you work with chunks of data. And then the last one that I didn't read. Some built-in methods are mutating, meaning the method will change the array, while others are non-mutating. You can always check the documentation. All right, let's see. It gave us some things to practice. Use the .length property to find the last element of an array. We've done that. Use the other methods not mentioned in the lesson. Take all elements in an array and make a string. Find the return value of push on an array. Nest an array within an array. Access an element inside the nested array. Okay, so we've done all of these except for using the other methods here. So let's create an array. So constant, let's see, like constant, we could do the grocery list again. Yeah, let's just do grocery, right? So just grocery list. And have it be equal to an array. And grocery list of, let's say we need some eggs. And remember, I need to make all these strings. Eggs, we're gonna say, we'll do a nested array here. So we'll add in another set of brackets, and this is going to be all of our dairy. So we'll do milk, we'll do cheese, outside, do the comma outside. Even within a nested array, everything is separated by commas there. Milk, cheese, and what, like cream cheese, right? Or let's see, like whipped cream. What's another dairy product that doesn't have the word? Yeah, just like cream, maybe creamer. So eggs, we got our dairy products, and then let's do like another nested array of veggies. So like broccoli. Do like asparagus and beets. Okay, and that should be enough for what we're doing. Just add in 3, right? So that's the grocery list currently. We can do a couple things here. Let's go ahead and console log the .length property, right? So grocery, I'm just gonna label it list so that as I type it, it's faster. Let's just do this as list, right? List. Log list with the .length, so we can know. Yep, it has 3 elements. It does not include the elements within the nested arrays, though. So you could have 3 elements, but those elements could themselves be arrays. I'm not sure how to show how many items are in an array that has nested arrays. Not sure about that. Take all the elements in an array and make it a string. This one, I remember, this is actually the join property, I believe. .join. Join, and so, or not property, sorry, the method, the join method. Within the parentheses of the join method, you have to put in like either a set of quotation marks or a space to add that between each element of the string. So I'll show you what I mean in a second. So if I just do join, right, with just the quotations or with just literally nothing, right, it'll just put everything in one line. So with the join method, you have to put in a string of what you want in between that, in between each element. And with this, it's working for the elements outside, but not for the nested arrays. Once again, that's interesting. So how do we access the nested arrays and join them that way? That's an interesting question. But anyway, so with join, if you do have simple elements within an array and it's not nested, then you can add in whatever you want here. If I added in like, instead of a space, I added in like a hyphen, right? It'll add in a hyphen instead. Or you could do this with like dates, where you put in a forward slash and then it'll add in the different numbers you put in and put them as dates. Different things like that. You can put whatever you want. If you wanted like equals or plus, if you had a string of numbers that you wanted to add together. Yeah, but that's curious. I'm not sure how you would access the internal arrays, the nested arrays. List.join. Unless you did like list of and then bracket notation 1, does that even work? It does work. Dude, that's cool. That's cool. So yeah, that's how you access it. So if you have nested arrays, then you just put in your bracket notation for whatever variable you stored it to, for that nested array, and then do the method. And then it will separate those elements and make them one string. That's cool. Okay, cool. And that's cool because I didn't know that, but it's just like taking the elements from what they've shown you and seeing how you could work them, seeing the patterns of how they work, and seeing if the pattern works here. Okay, so take all the elements and make it a string. We did that one. Return the value of calling .push on an array. Okay, so what was the other thing? The dot length, yeah. So that's how you do it with a length too. Get rid of these quotation marks. I think. No? It's not a function. Oh, right, it's not a function. It's just a property. And we need that. There we go. Yeah, so if you want to know how many elements are within an element in an array with the nested arrays, then you add your bracket notation after the variable to pinpoint where you want it to look. That's cool. So it's like looking within folders, seeing more folders, looking within, a folder deeper down, and then seeing the files, right? You can sort of think of it like that. Let's go back to join though. Join, and then underneath this we'll add in console log calling push. So return a value of calling push on an array. So we want console log of list.push. What should we push? Let's see. List.push. We want to add in like, let's see. We got vegetables. We got eggs. We got dairy. Let's add in like tortilla chips or something, right? Tortillas. Okay, let's see if that works. All on one line. That's interesting. So it comes back with 4. List.push.join. Very interesting. Return the value of calling.push on an array. Push for that. I don't think we need anything here, do we? 3. Interesting. 4. So it console logs the number of elements within the array as it's pushing the new item. So then it gives us a value of 4, telling us that the elements, there are 4 elements within that array now. Then if you did it where you added another one, like added in salsa, then it would be 5. That's interesting. So that's a way to show the number of elements in an array using push. But now if we console log the array itself, just add in list there again, then it will give us the array. And then if we want to do the join, how do we do it where yeah, so if we want to join everything together in one string with spaces, we'll have to do it. It seems there might be a shortcut to this, but I'll do it the way that I'm thinking. So list of the index 0 dot join, Right, we don't actually have to do the first one. I guess we do because we have to get it in the string. So dot join, we can just do empty parentheses there. I don't know if you can do like, just start adding another one, like list of one dot join. Really have to put in like a plus or something. Or maybe this is like the dot concat, right, that they were showing us earlier. Join, this one we want to add in a space. We can go ahead and add in a space here too. It'll add a space after eggs, theoretically. List of 2, put in the index of 2, dot join, and then have it be an empty string. See if that, what does that do? Missing after argument list, yeah. So can we put in commas or something? No. That first part runs, but join is not a function. List 0 dot join is not a function. Really? I beg to differ, because if we get rid of these, right? Get rid of those. Dot join. It doesn't like that. What is different here? It worked with this one. Oh, because there's nothing to join, right? So all we need to do is just have list 0 there. Okay, so let's put this out. There we go. Okay, yeah, I was just throwing an error because it didn't. It saw that the array was just one element. That's another good nuance to know. So if you have an element within your array, and you're trying to join everything together with nested arrays and trying to put in spaces, if you have one that only has one element, basically accessing the main array, you don't need to do join because there's nothing to join. It's just one element. So instead, you simply call that or reference it, and then it will put it into the string. It's interesting that it put in a space after eggs, because with the join, it should just add spaces with the elements that it's seeing. So the other two joins are looking at these. But I guess it adds in a space after each element as well. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so with nested arrays, trying to access them with join, you have to give their index, and then if you're doing that in a series and you have one that doesn't have more, that only has one element, you don't use join. Cool. Nest an array within an array, we did that. Access an element in a nested array. I think we are all wrapped up with the array review. Found a few new things by just playing around. That's the cool thing. It's like, it's always worthwhile to just play around with it and see what you can figure out based off the patterns they've given you. All right, let's see. So project secret message. Using array methods, you will transform an array of strings into a secret message. You should consult the MDN for reference on any method which you are not familiar. Use an array method to remove the last string of an array of the secret message. All right, so what do we say here? Learning is not about what you get easily the first time. It is about what you can figure out. 2015, Chris Pine, learn JavaScript. Okay. So to remove the last string, so we need the pop, right? So secret message, and we could console log this, but we'll go ahead and just do secret message, and this will be .pop, right? I think that's all we need for the first step, and that'll get rid of JavaScript at the bottom. Okay, great. Now you can check your work by logging the length of the array. Okay, so secret message.length, and just that. But we need to actually console log it. Console log. And do this, get that semicolon out of there, and put it on the outside. 23, yeah, so let's do that before as well. Let's put that before. So it started out with 24 elements, and now it's giving us 23 after the pop method ran. Okay, cool. So it's one less than the original length. Use an array method to add words to and program as separate strings to the end of the secret message array. So we want to do a push. So secret message dot push as separate elements. So we need to add 2 strings. This will be 2, comma, string of program. Okay. Change the word easily to the word right by accessing the index and replacing it. The word easily. So we have to find out where easily is in the array and then change it to the word right. So I'm going to do 2 things here. We know the word that we want to change, so we can access that by using index of and find where that word is. So index of easily, we could just count, but again, this is like teaching you that if you have an array of 1,000 items and you want to find where the one thing is, don't count. Just use index of and then the thing that you want to change easily. And this is going to have to be, we're going to have to console log this, right, to actually see what that is. Console log that. 7, so easily is at spot 7, index 7. So now we can change index 7 by simply calling it in the secret message and 7, and then equal sign to reassign it to right, this being a string. That. Okay. And now I'm trusting that what we're doing here is correct. It's not throwing any errors. It is changing what we want to change, mutating what we want to mutate, and at the end of it all, we'll console log it and see if we're correct. We're basically, yeah, we're trusting that our code is correct. We'll see at the end. Use an array to remove the first string of the array. So this we want shift, right? So secret message dot shift. I think it's a function, right? Yeah. Use an array method to add the string programming to the beginning of the array. So this is unshift, right? So secret message dot unshift. Okay. Use an array method to remove the strings get right the first time and replace them with the single string no. So we could do this in a couple of ways. One way would be to find the indices of all of those, right? Where is it actually? You can, what you get, not about what you get, this one, or get right. Yeah. So we're actually changing what we already changed, the get right, right? So let's, before we do that, let's console log to see what we have so far and make sure that okay, so we got rid of the first element, so now just we have is not about what you get right the first time. They want us to eliminate the get right the first time and just say no instead. And then program change down here, we pushed that successfully. So everything worked up to that point. This one I think is, let's see, going to be more efficient with a different method. So we could do index of for all of those elements, right? And then do the same thing as we did here, where we replace it manually like this. Just access each index individually and then put in what we want. But instead, I think there's another method. I think it's like splice. So not slice, but splice. So slice will look at a range I think splice actually takes it out. And we can double check the hint here, but I'm just going to go with that and see if it works. I remember learning about that at some point here. So secret message splice, and then within this it's going to be like slice, but we still have to find the indices though, right? So could we do, how do we do this? How do we do this? Well, we know that the strings are sequential, right? So get right the first time is all in a line. One word comes after the other. So we could just get the index of the first one, right? And then the index of the last one, and then take a splice of that. But say that if we didn't know that, say that if they weren't sequential, could we do it where the index of, we can also have like commas? So let's copy this code, because this is what we're going to use for functionality, and then just change the string. So instead of easily, say get, maybe comma and right. Let's just see if that works. And then we'll get to this in a second. We'll get to the splice in a second. Comment that out. Hey, it does work. That's cool. So it console logs the index of get and write. Oh, one other thing is happening. So this is after we unshifted, but we didn't add anything to our unshift. So we need to add programming. That's one thing that's missing. So now that 5 at the bottom should turn into a 6. Yes, okay. Cool. Once again, it's just like, okay, maybe this will work because I've seen the comma syntax in other places. So yeah, learning the patterns of the syntax and then trying it in different ways. So get right the first time. So basically, this is going to be more efficient if we just do the first and last. So just time, because we know it's all sequential. Oh, maybe not. Hold on. Oh, so it's only looking at the first one. Right? Let's see. 7, 6, console log secret message index of. What happens when we get rid of this? That just console logs the 7. Undo. Console log 6. Why does it console log 6? Yeah, because of get, right? Okay. So it ignores time. Can we get rid of the comma? There's a syntax error. So the comma is fine. It's fine with the comma. It's putting in 2 arguments. But it doesn't have 2 arguments, right? So you would have to do that manually then. Anyway, so we know that get is at 6. We could go ahead and run this again for time. So copy the console log with the index of and make this time instead as the last string that we want to see. What? -1? Secret message index of time. Oh, it's not there. Figure out. It is about. Oh no, it is there. Time is there. But it's like there's a comma. There's a comma. Sneaky little comma. Okay, try that. That is a good tip though. If you put in something like, you know, popcorn, right? It's not in the string. It's not in the array. So it will come back in the console log as -1. Just says that check your spelling because it's not there, right? But anyway, so get is at index of 6 and time is 10. Let's then experiment with our splice method. See that it works the same as slice. So let's do 6 and 11 because it always has to be one after. And let's actually console log what this is first, and then see if that will get rid of it. So, or maybe it's more fun to see what it does if it's there's no error. Yeah, there's no error. So let's go ahead and console log on the next line our secret message. Console log secret message. Programming is not about what you figure out. Okay, and now we want to replace that with a new string. So splice did work. Splice is basically like slice, except it is destructive. It mutates the array and takes that range out. If you want to just access it, just look at it and use it for something, you can use slice instead, but splice will remove it. Okay. So we want to replace it with a single string of no. I don't know how to do that in one step, but now that we know its index of 6, we can add it in there. So then just do secret message. There might be a method where you do that as 1, but I'm not sure if there is. Let's do 6. This will become a reassignment to the string of no. And then we'll console log our message. Yep, there we go. Programming is not about what you know. Wait a second. Oh, we need to do this before that, eh? Yeah, because now the index has changed. Can we push this to... Ooh. I wonder if you can do a push at a specific index. Let's try 5. Let's do push. And put in the string that we want. So no. Theoretically, this would look at the index 5 and then put the string after it. Let's see if that works. No, because push, yeah, that is not a function. Okay. Okay. Secret message dot push to and program. So push is only at the end. So how do you add in something in the middle without changing it? I don't know that we've learned that. There's push, pop, shift, unshift, slice, and splice. Those are the only ones that we've used. Replace them with a single string of no. Yeah, there's got to be one in the documentation that's about that. Let's look at the hint for this and see if it can point us in the right direction. Okay, yeah, we did use splice. Yeah, we did use splice, but there's another argument to it. Okay. So after you put index start number of indices. Oh, I see. It got rid of way more than we wanted it to. So the way splice works, you do your index to start, which we had correct. But then number of indices, yeah, would be the elements here. Get right the first time. Because if we run that with what we had, it actually got rid of more than what we wanted. So it skipped straight from you to figure out. And we just wanted to get rid of these 5. Number of indices is 5. And then the string to add inside of it. Okay, so it works a little bit differently. Works a little bit differently than I thought. Sweet. Well, that's really helpful. Yeah, so this way you can look at it, remove a section, remove a range of indices, and then put in a string to replace it. This is the replacement method. So we just want no. Just want no. Just splice it in. Yeah, there you go. Programming is not about what you know, it is about what you can figure out. Chris Pine learned to program. Okay, cool. On one line, use console log and join to print a secret message as a sentence. All right, so console log, last line of the code, console log,